Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They thought humanity was gone, until our civilization reemerged in glory. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with tense energy as representatives from 17 advanced civilizations gathered to discuss what they called the human problem. The vast crystalline dome of the chamber reflected countless stars, each representing a world united under the Council's guidance and protection. High Arbiter Zixvan of the Phalassi floated in his gravity suspension field at the center of the chamber. His translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation to those who could read the emotional signaling. "The evidence is clear," Zixvan announced, his thoughts translated into multiple languages simultaneously. Humanity represents an unprecedented existential risk to galactic harmony and predictable development. Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing human technological progression over a mere 3 centuries. The exponential curve looked like a weapon aimed at the heart of galactic stability. Where other species followed established developmental patterns with predictable outcomes, humans create radical innovations that disrupt entire technological ecosystems. Continued Administrator IL-07, a cybernetic representative of the Mercury consensus. Their neural architecture permits cognitive leaps that our predictive models cannot anticipate. In the observation gallery, Dr. Diana Chen, Earth's chief synanthropologist and unofficial ambassador, felt her heart sink. The deliberations had proceeded exactly as she had feared. Her warnings to Earth's unified government had gone unheeded. Humans had simply moved too quickly, innovated too radically, and frightened too many powerful species. "It is not merely their technological unpredictability," added Matriarch Sonia of the Lurisan Dominion. "It is their psychological resilience in the face of setbacks. Where most species accept limitations, humans view them as challenges to overcome. This mindset, combined with their technological creativity, makes them fundamentally disruptive to the galactic order we have maintained for 50,000 years." Diana watched as data streamed across her neural interface, showing the voting patterns forming among council members. It was already a foregone conclusion. The only question was what form humanity's punishment would take. High Arbiter Zixban's body flashed with colors that Diana recognized as denoting a formal pronouncement. "The Council has reached consensus. Humanity will be relocated to the quarantine world designated Tartarus 9 in the Outer Rim. All human settlements outside of Sol's system will be evacuated. Advanced technology will be confiscated. The solar system will be enclosed within a quantum barrier, permitting only basic interstellar travel to the designated exile world." Diana stepped forward. "The exile world you've chosen is barely habitable. The atmospheric composition alone is within survivable parameters for your species," interrupted Alaf 7. "We are not genocidal, Dr. Chen. We are protective. Your species will have the opportunity to develop in isolation where your unpredictable nature cannot destabilize galactic civilization." "This is not exile," Zixban added, his color shifting to what Diana recognized as the approximation of compassion. "It is quarantine. Perhaps in 10,000 years, humanity will have matured sufficiently to rejoin galactic society." The evacuation was conducted with ruthless efficiency. Across 200 colony worlds, humans were given 3 standard months to withdraw. Most essential technologies were confiscated. Quantum communication networks were dismantled. FTL drives were downgraded to primitive versions that could barely manage 2 light years per month. The fleet of evacuation ships, once humanity's pride, limped toward Tartarus 9, a world at the very edge of a galactic arm where nothing of value existed. The journey took 11 months. 11 months of dwindling supplies, failing systems, and growing desperation. Diana Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Resilient as they approached Tartarus 9. The planet loomed in the view screens, a nightmarish swirl of angry storms, violent volcanic activity, and electromagnetic disturbances that made the remaining technology flicker uncertainly. "Final habitability analysis," reported Commander Jackson, his face gaunt from months of stress and minimal rations. Atmosphere is technically breathable but filled with particulate and sulfur compounds. Surface temperature averages 43 degrees C. Gravity at 1.2 Earth standard. Electromagnetic storms will disable most remaining tech within months. Elevated radiation levels from the system's unstable star. Diana closed her eyes briefly. How many ships made it? 87 of 112. Approximately 1.3 million colonists, plus the 400,000 already on board Resilient. His voice dropped. The remaining 5 billion humans are trapped in Sol's system behind the barrier. So this is what we have to work with, Diana whispered, staring at the hostile world below. This is where humanity makes its last stand. The landing was chaotic. Electromagnetic disturbances from Tartarus's unstable magnetosphere disrupted navigation systems. 3 ships crashed. Thousands died in the first week from accidents, exposure, and equipment failures. The survivors huddled in the twisted wreckage of their ships as Tartarus unleashed hellish storms, volcanic ashfalls, and temperature fluctuations that tested the limits of human endurance. In the remains of the Resilient, now half buried in black volcanic sand, Diana Chen called together the surviving scientists, engineers, and leaders. "We need to face reality," she said to the haggard faces around her. "The Council didn't just exile us. They sent us here to die slowly, to fade away as a cautionary tale. They're expecting us to struggle against this world until our technology fails completely, then devolve into primitive survival at best, extinction at worst." Dr. Marcus Ackafer, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stood up. Despite the gaunt hollows in his cheeks, his eyes burned with intensity. "Then we need to do what humans have always done best, disappoint their expectations. I've been analyzing soil and atmospheric samples. This planet isn't just random. It was chosen specifically because it's hostile in ways that target our technology." "So we change our technology," said engineer Sophia Torres. The young woman had already gained a reputation for jury-rigging solutions to impossible problems during the journey. "We stop trying to maintain Earth standards and start adapting to Tartarus specifically." "It's more than that," Marcus continued. "The electromagnetic fields here, they're not just disruptive noise. There's an almost biological pattern to the fluctuations, and the mineral composition of the soil contains compound configurations I've never seen before. This planet is strange in ways that go beyond mere hostility." 6 months after landing, the first breakthroughs came. The survivors had consolidated into 3 main settlements built partially underground to escape the worst of the surface conditions. Mortality rates had stabilized, but their situation remained desperate. Diana stood in the makeshift laboratory as Marcus and Sophia unveiled their discovery. Before them sat a crystalline structure pulsing with internal light, a light that brightened and dimmed in perfect synchronization with the electromagnetic pulses that swept across the planet's surface. "We call it a georesonator," Sophia explained, her once clean lab coat now a patchwork of repairs and stains. "It doesn't just resist the electromagnetic storms, it channels them. The crystal structure is grown from native minerals, cultivated in a solution derived from local bacterial analogs." "What does it do?" Diana asked, reaching toward the pulsing crystal. "It's a power source," Marcus said. "But more than that, the crystalline matrix stores and processes information in ways our computers never could. It's not electrical computing, it's something else entirely. We're calling it quantum biological computing, but that's just our best approximation." Diana looked from the crystal to the scientists. "Can we replicate it?" "Better than that," Sophia said with the first genuine smile Diana had seen in months. "We can grow it, and once we understood the principle, we discovered that this planet is practically made for this technology. The electromagnetic storms, the mineral compositions, they're perfect for growing and powering these crystals." Within a year, the first generation of georesonators had transformed the colonies. The hostile electromagnetic environment that had been destroying their technology now powered a new kind of technology, one that thrived on the very conditions that had nearly killed them. Communication networks spanning the settlements pulsed through crystalline nodes buried in the soil. Environmental systems purified air and water using filters grown from adapted native organisms. And most importantly, the colonists themselves began to change. Dr. Alina Vyulov, the settlement's chief medical officer, presented her findings to the Colony Council. The radiation levels and environmental toxins should be killing us slowly, but they're not. Our analysis shows that the native microbiota are interacting with human biology in unprecedented ways. She displayed holographic images of human cellular structures. We're seeing adaptive mutations occurring at an accelerated rate, cellular repair mechanisms we've never documented before. The native microorganisms aren't just coexisting with us, they're integrating with our biology. Is it dangerous? Asked Diana. It's already happening whether we want it or not, Alina replied. But preliminary data suggests these changes are beneficial. People exposed to the integrated microbiota show improved radiation resistance, enhanced immune responses, and better tolerance to the atmospheric toxins. By the end of the second year, the human settlements on Tartarus no longer resembled desperate refugee camps. Buildings grown from native materials rose organically from the landscape, designed to channel and utilize the electromagnetic storms rather than resist them. Farm domes cultivated hybrid crops that incorporated Tartarian DNA, and the people themselves had begun a transformation that went beyond mere survival. Diana stood at the edge of the largest settlement, now called Genesis, watching as the newly constructed Jerson Tower channeled a violent electromagnetic storm into a spectacular light display that powered the entire colony. The black volcanic soil beneath her feet teemed with engineered microorganisms that gradually detoxified the ground and air. Commander Jackson joined her, looking out over the colony. You know what the council would say if they could see us now? Diana nodded. They'd be terrified. Exactly. He pointed to the distant horizon where construction teams were extending the network of georesonator nodes. They exiled us because we were unpredictable. They never considered that by putting us in the most hostile environment they could find, they were forcing us to become something even more unpredictable. Diana watched as the storm's energy flowed through the crystal network, illuminating the colony in pulses of alien light. They gave us no choice but to evolve, she said quietly, and that's exactly what we're doing. As the electromagnetic storm intensified overhead, the georesonator network throughout Genesis pulsed with power, and Diana felt the subtle changes in her own body responding to the rhythm. Humanity on Tartarus was becoming something new, something the Galactic Council had never anticipated and could never control. 20 years after the exile, Tartarus was unrecognizable. Where once there had been desperate crash sites and makeshift shelters, a network of 7 major cities now thrived across the planet's surface. The black volcanic plains had been transformed into fertile soil through bioengineered microorganisms. Crystal spires rose from each city center, their structures pulsing with the planet's electromagnetic rhythms. In the central complex of Genesis City, Dr. Diana Chen, now bearing the honorific elder despite being only in her 60s, sat in a chamber unlike any that had existed on Earth. The walls themselves were semi-living membranes grown from Tartarian organisms and human-engineered cells. They responded to thought patterns, displaying information as needed and altering their properties to suit the occupant's needs. Diana's body, like those of all long-term Tartarus residents, had changed. Her skin held a faint luminescent quality that shifted with her emotional state, a side effect of the symbiotic microorganisms that now lived within all humans on the planet. Small, almost translucent crystalline growths traced patterns along her temples and the backs of her hands, neural interfaces that connected her directly to the planet's georesonance network. The chamber door dissolved temporarily as Marcus Acaffer entered, now the director of evolutionary sciences. His transformation was even more pronounced. The crystalline growths extended across most of his visible skin in intricate patterns, marking his deep integration with Tartarus's unique properties. The Nexus ship is ready, he announced without preamble. Diana nodded slowly. You're certain it will work? As certain as we can be. The quantum fold drive doesn't operate like conventional FTL technology. It doesn't push against spacetime. It folds through dimensional boundaries using principles derived from the georesonance network. The Council's detection systems are designed to monitor conventional spacetime distortions. They'll never see this coming. Diana rose from her seat, the membrane walls rippling in response to her movement. Then it's time to rejoin the galaxy on our terms. The Nexus ship bore little resemblance to conventional spacecraft. Its hull was a crystalline organic matrix that grew and adapted rather than being constructed. It contained no metallic components, no conventional electronics, no recognizable engines. Instead, it was essentially a mobile fragment of Tartarus itself, a quantum biological entity powered by the same georesonance principles that had transformed human civilization. Captain Sophia Torres stood at the center of the ship's neural chamber. After 2 decades on Tartarus, she had become one of the most deeply integrated humans, with crystalline formations covering nearly 40% of her body. These weren't prosthetics or implants. They were expressions of her evolved biology, extensions of her nervous system that allowed direct communication with Tartarian technology. "Integration complete," she announced, her voice resonating strangely as it harmonized with the ship's frequencies. "Quantum fold matrix stable, the ship is ready." A crew of 50, all displaying various levels of Tartarian integration, took their positions throughout the vessel. Unlike conventional ships with designated control stations, the Nexus ship operated as a neural network, with the crew serving as specialized nodes in its consciousness. Diana watched from the observation platform as the vessel rose silently from the docking bay. There was no exhaust, no engine flare, just a subtle distortion in the air as it ascended. "Good luck," she whispered, knowing that humanity's future depended on what they discovered. The quantum fold drive activated with a pulse of energy that briefly connected the ship to every georesonator on Tartarus. For an instant, the entire network of human settlement became one integrated consciousness. Then the ship simply vanished, folding through dimensions in a way no council species had ever achieved or imagined possible. The journey that would have taken months with conventional FTL drives took less than 2 days. The Nexus ship emerged at the edge of the Calypso system, home to a mid-tier trading post frequented by multiple species, but distant enough from core council territories to avoid immediate detection. Sophia experienced the system through the ship's senses as a kinesthetic flow of information that registered as colors, textures, and harmonic tones in her integrated consciousness. Multiple vessels detected, council registry signatures identified, no alarm patterns detected in communication frequencies. We remain unrecognized. The plan was simple but audacious. Rather than announcing their return, the expedition would make contact with non-council species first, those who operated at the fringes of galactic society and harbored their own resentments against council dominance. The Nexus ship approached a remote space station orbiting Calypso's outermost planet. Using adapted communication protocols, they transmitted trade signals rather than identification beacons. To any observer, they appeared to be simply another unaffiliated trading vessel, unusual in design perhaps, but not obviously human. First contact came in the form of a Vexorary merchant vessel, a species known for their pragmatism and minimal allegiance to council directives. The insectoid traders were initially suspicious of the strange, crystalline ship, but quickly became intrigued by the unique resources offered for trade. Bioadaptive materials and energy-storing crystals, unlike anything in known space. "They have no idea we're human," reported communications specialist Ravi Mehta, his crystalline neural interfaces pulsing with incoming data. "The Vexari perceive our biological differences as evidence of a previously unknown species rather than human evolution." "Perfect," Sophia responded. "Proceed with the exchange. Priority objective is information gathering, current galactic political structure, technological developments, and council activities regarding human quarantine." The information they gathered painted a fascinating picture. In the 20 years since the human exile, the galactic power structure had shifted. Several council species had begun questioning the central authority. New technological stagnation had set in without the disruptive but innovative human influence. And most importantly, monitoring of Tartarus had become minimal. A routine checkpoint on the quarantine network assumed to contain nothing but struggling human survivors barely maintaining a technological civilization. Over the next year, 7 more Nexus ships joined the first, establishing a covered network of human presence throughout the Outer Rim territories. They made contact with dozens of non-council species, trading Tartarian technology in exchange for resources and information. Small outposts were established, not colonies but nexus points where human representatives could operate quietly. The humans called this initiative Project Diaspora, a silent reintegration into galactic society under the Council's nose. Each outpost contained georesonator nodes connected through quantum entanglement to Tartarus, forming an invisible network that spanned growing sections of the galaxy. Inevitably, discovery came. A routine inspection of an apparently abandoned mining facility in the Helios cluster revealed a small human outpost with technology that defied Council understanding. The Fallacy inspection team immediately triggered emergency protocols, summoning a Council diplomatic vessel led by none other than High Arbiter Zixvan himself. The Council ship arrived at the facility expecting to find desperate human refugees using stolen technology. What they found instead was a fully operational outpost with technology they couldn't comprehend, staffed by humans who barely resembled the species they had exiled 2 decades earlier. Zixvan's translucent body pulsed with patterns of alarm and confusion as his delegation confronted the outpost leader, Captain Torres herself, who had been summoned from her ship as soon as the alarm was triggered. "This is a violation of exile protocols," the High Arbiter began, his thought patterns translated through conventional systems. "Humans are restricted to Tartarus 9 and prohibited from—" He stopped abruptly as Sophia stepped forward into the light, revealing her transformed appearance. The crystalline formations across her skin pulsed with light that synchronized with the facility's ambient energy patterns. When she spoke, harmonics underlay her words that resonated with the structure itself. "We are observing your prohibition, High Arbiter," she said calmly. "We remain on Tartarus. This is merely a projection of our presence." Zixvan's colors shifted to patterns of disbelief. "Impossible. You stand physically before me." "Your conception of physical is limited by Council understanding," Sophia replied. "We have evolved beyond such constraints. What you perceive as human bodies are quantum biological projections, extensions of our consciousness on Tartarus made manifest through the georesonance network." To demonstrate, she raised her hand, which briefly dissolved into crystalline light before reforming. "We exist simultaneously on Tartarus and wherever our network extends. The quantum fold technology allows us to project ourselves across the galaxy without conventional travel." The delegation's colors displayed patterns of alarm that bordered on panic. Alath 7 of the Makari consensus stepped forward, cybernetic systems scanning Sophia and the outpost. "This technology contradicts all established principles of Council physics," the machine intelligence stated. "Analysis indicates development path divergent from all predicted models. Query: how has this been achieved in mere decades?" Sophia smiled slightly. "You exiled us to the most hostile world you could find, forcing us to adapt or die. We chose to adapt, not just our technology but our biology, our consciousness, our very definition of existence. Tartarus wasn't our prison, it was our catalyst." "This changes nothing," Zixvan declared, though his color patterns betrayed uncertainty. "The quarantine remains in effect. These outposts will be dismantled. Your presence outside Tartarus is forbidden." "You misunderstand, High Arbiter," Sophia replied calmly. "We are not asking permission. We are informing you of reality. You cannot dismantle these outposts because they are not physically here. They are projections of Tartarus itself. You cannot prevent our presence because we do not travel in ways your sensors can detect." She gestured, and the walls of the facility became transparent, revealing the true nature of the outpost. Not conventional construction, but a crystalline organic growth that pulsed with its own consciousness. The Council exiled humanity because we were unpredictable, a disruption to your orderly galaxy, Sophia continued. You were right to fear us then. We were chaotic, undirected potential, but you forced us to focus that potential, to evolve in ways you never imagined possible. Now we offer you a choice. What choice could you possibly offer the Council? Demanded Zixvan, his colors now showing patterns of both fear and fascination. Partnership or irrelevance, Sophia stated simply. The quarantine was based on the assumption that isolation would contain human unpredictability. Instead, it concentrated and accelerated our evolution. We will rejoin galactic society not as the humans you exiled, but as something new. You can adapt to this reality, or you can become obsolete as we have adapted to ours. News of the encounter spread rapidly through Council space. The impossible humans who existed in multiple places simultaneously, whose technology defied conventional understanding, whose biology had merged with their exile world to create something entirely new. Emergency Council sessions were called. Defense systems were activated. Panic spread among some species, fascination among others. 1 month later, a delegation from Tartarus arrived directly in the Council chamber, not by ship, but simply by manifesting through a small georesonator crystal that had been secretly placed there weeks earlier. Diana Chen, Marcus Ockhaffer, and Sophia Torres appeared before the assembled representatives of 17 civilizations. Diana stepped forward, her crystalline interfaces glowing softly. 2 decades had transformed her from a desperate ambassador pleading for mercy into the elder leader of a civilization that had transcended conventional existence. 20 years ago, you judged humanity too unpredictable to join your galactic community, she addressed the silent chamber. You were correct in your assessment but mistaken in your solution. By exiling us, you removed all constraints on our unpredictability except the harshest one, survival itself. She gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing Tartarus as it now existed. Crystalline cities pulsing with energy, humans whose biology had merged with the planet itself, technologies that operated on principles the Council had never imagined. We did not defy your exile, she continued. We transformed it. Tartarus is no longer our prison, it is our nexus, the heart of a new network that extends throughout the galaxy. We do not seek revenge for our exile, we seek cooperation based on mutual respect. High Arbiter Zixvan's colors shifted through complex patterns before settling on the formal configuration of official response. What precisely are you proposing, Elder Chen? An end to quarantine, recognition of human evolution, open exchange of knowledge with any species who desires it. We will share the benefits of our transformation with those who wish to learn. We will respect the boundaries of those who wish to maintain distance. And if we refuse, asked IL-07. Marcus stepped forward. Then nothing changes for us. We will continue to exist as we are, extending our network through means you cannot detect or prevent. But the galaxy will lose the opportunity for a renaissance of knowledge and cooperation that could benefit all species. The Council chamber erupted in a chaos of discussions, arguments, and alarmed communications. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for study and adaptation. Still others began unauthorized negotiations on the spot, eager to access the revolutionary technologies humanity had developed. In the midst of the chaos, Matriarch Sana of the Lurisan Dominion approached Diana directly. 20 years ago, I voted for your exile, she admitted. I believed humanity would either destroy itself or regress to primitive survival on Tartarus. And now, Diana asked. The matriarch's facial membranes fluttered in what Diana recognized as her species' expression of profound respect. Now I see that the Council's greatest mistake was failing to recognize that environmental pressure is the crucible of extraordinary evolution. You have become something we could never have predicted, perhaps something we needed without knowing it. As the Council dissolved into factions, those who feared the new humanity, those who wished to learn from them, and those who simply accepted the new reality, Diana, Marcus, and Sophia shared a silent communication through their crystalline interfaces. They had not come seeking the Council's permission or forgiveness. They had come to announce humanity's return to the galactic stage, not as the disruptive but limited species that had been exiled, but as something transcendent that had used that exile to evolve beyond anyone's imagination. The Galactic Council had intended Tartarus to be humanity's prison and eventual grave. Instead, it had become the birthplace of a new kind of civilization, one that would transform the galaxy not through conquest or dominance, but through the unlimited human capacity for adaptation and evolution against all odds.